past with me getting flagrant fouls really for nothing. When you compare that to the one that I got, which I thought I didn't hit him. I didn't elbow him. I might have touched him, but I don't think he deserved the flagrant. I mean, if you're going to compare those two, those are tough plays, and I just thought, should have been a flagrant too.
So welcome back to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols, still joined by Matt Barnes, Paul Pierce. And guys, that was Joel Embiid talking about LeBron's hard foul on him last night in comparison to his foul on Anthony Davis. Paul, do you think Joel has a point?
You know what, Rach? I come from a different era. To me, that wasn't even that flagrant. I mean, I thought LeBron really put his arms out to prevent him from getting dunked on. It wasn't like, I thought Joel just kind of fell bad. And since he fell right on his back, it made it look worse than it really was. So in my eyes, in my era, that's not even a flagrant. And so I don't know, but it's a different league today. And, if you fall hard or you yell or you put your hand over your eye, it's a flagrant these days.
No, I completely agree, and I've had my fair share of flagrants and flagrant twos. And to me, when you guys said hard foul, I didn't even think it was a hard foul. I think the situation was that Embiid was just off balance, and like I said, LeBron didn't do a full push motion. He just put his hands out to kind of embrace himself because he knew he was about to get dunked on, but Embiid was off balance. So, a flagrant foul in today's game, I understand, but definitely not a flagrant two by any means.
Yeah, it's interesting. Doc Rivers, your old coach, Paul, agreed with you. He said, first of all, LeBron is not a dirty player, according to Doc. And he also said it was just a physical play. Doc said they had to call it a flagrant. But he said all the flagrants tonight, and that includes Embiid's, by the way. Doc said, you get a flagrant for anything these days, basically. It was just, to his point, it was sort of the same thing as yours, saying, hey, back in the day, we just called those hard fouls. I think one of the things that frustrated Joel was the sort of discrepancy, right? So he gets called for that call on AD, and he sort of feels like, well, okay, what happened here was worse or just as bad or anything like that. But it is true. It's a different game, gentlemen, than when you guys were in your prime. I'm just saying that. I want to stick with this game, though, and focus on the Sixers. Paul, what did you learn about Philadelphia after that win over the Lakers?
You know what, Rachel, truthfully, I haven't learned much, and this is why. Because, yes, they've gotten better because I think they've gotten better coaching, and I think Embiid came back a better player. But in order for this team to take the next step, and I mean serious contention, I believe that Ben Simmons, he has to get better. He has to be a better player for them. Since his rookie year, I don't think he's elevated his game to superstar status, because you remember we said this guy could be the next LeBron. We looked at his build, his athletic ability, the way he passed the ball, but he just never took his game to that next level since rookie year. Yeah, they'll be better because they have better coaching, better discipline, but I didn't learn much. You learn more about teams once they get in the playoffs, because right now, I think the Celtics don't sweep them. The Sixers win maybe 2 games. That's probably what I learned.
Still early in the season, so it's hard to really tell, what a team is about. What I do love is I feel like Doc has empowered these guys and have them believing in themselves. And I agree with Paul to an extent. I think, we haven't seen the jump from Ben that we thought we were going to see after his, first couple great seasons. But we see Embiid playing at an all-star level. Ben Simmons is right around that triple-double. But to me, if Tobias Harris can be this consistent guy that he's been of late, he had a great season with Doc in L.A., and now he's out there playing very confident, and they always needed someone to fill that Jimmy Butler role. Although Jimmy wasn't there long, he was the guy down the stretch that made plays for everyone else and hit big shots. And Tobias is that talented, and he's the highest paid player on that team. So Tobias has had a great season. I think Doc has empowered him, and if he could be their go-to guy at the end to be able to hit big shots, I think Philly's going to be all right.
Yeah, I mean, that is a huge difference for them. And what Doc has done is kind of doubled down on what he thinks his guys are good at. So he has definitely told Joel, we're giving you the keys. You are going to be the main guy our franchise is built around. But he has also said to Ben, I'm not going to try to turn you into something you're not. He's really emphasized what Ben's strengths are. Ben is great around the basket. And defensively, man, if you took him off this team, They would be an entire different defensive presence. So what Doc is trying to do is say, hey, do what you're good at. Do that to the best of your ability. We won't try to ask you to do too many other things. And Tobias's game picking back up obviously helps him with that. I'm interested in this Philly team, but the East, man, the East is hopping. The Nets going on, the Bucks still presence, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, Celtics want to make a statement, Philadelphia, and then you've got the defending Eastern Conference champions, the Miami Heat, which we will get to later in the show. But right first, I want to check out Utah because, boy, they are the NBA's hottest team, people. Last night, the Jazz beat the Mavericks 116-104 without the services of Donovan Mitchell, who is in the concussion protocol. Rudy Gobert scored 29, grabbed 20 rebounds. Jordan Clarkson came off the bench to drop 31. Paul, what does this win without Donovan Mitchell tell you about how good the Jazz can be?
Well, this tells me that they're a very well-coached and disciplined team. You know, they can play with or without their star. Utah, what more can you say about them? They're going to be in the mix every year, but there's just something they're missing. You know, when I want to put them up there in the ranks of playing the Los Angeles Lakers possibly to a 7-game, or even, you know, pushing the Denver Nuggets again this year. It's just something I feel like they're missing, but they're having a great year. Maybe they learned from the series last year and they're building on that. But this tells me they're well coached, man. And I love Snyder over there. He's doing an excellent job, you know, through all the protocols, through all missing their stars. Yep. You know, Rudy Gobert, it seems like he's motivated after Shaq called him out. And so I really like this team moving forward.
I agree with Paul. I think they're a great coach team. They remind me of, you know, an up-and-coming San Antonio team, although they don't have the star assets, but like I said, well-coached, good organization, and it's a system where you can plug players in and out. Obviously, I don't think they can consistently win without their best player, but they do have some talent out there, and I agree with Paul. I really feel like they're that one piece away, and I think, Rachel, we talked earlier in the week about this. If they stay on this pace with 2 or 3, you know, at the trade deadline, do they try to go after someone like a Zach LaVine or possibly a Bradley Beal? And I feel like either one of those players would definitely put them over the hump, because I really feel like they need that one more consistent score that's going to be in that 20 to 25 point a game range for them to make real noise in the Western Conference.
And Matt, I know that there's been some pushback from Jazz fans going, well, what about Jordan Clarkson, man? And he is certainly, I think, the leading candidate right now for Sixth Man of the Year. But that's different from what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, great 6-man. You know, you need a starter that's going to fill that role. Jordan Clarkson's been playing his heart out this season. It looked like he really found a home. They rewarded him for his play, so I'm really happy with him. So you want Jordan Clarkson and Mike Conley to be those 3rd and 4th options, but you need that consistent second option, because I don't see you getting 29 and 20 every night from big fella.
Well, of course, getting Donovan Mitchell back will help with all of that for sure. All right, guys, here's what the Jump recommends for today. Our draft analyst, Mike Schmitz, breaking down the G League's plans to develop top prospects. He's going to join us in our next segment to elaborate. Welcome back to the Jump. You know, we just heard from Wizards coach Scott Brooks. We heard from Woj in our last segment. But now I want to bring in Matt Barnes and Paul Pierce, former Wizard Paul Pierce, I should point out, to get the players' perspective on all this. Paul, what can the Wizards do to make Beal happy at this point? Because he appears to still be interested. He got up there again last night and said, I want to set things right and stay with this team and be with this team in this way.
Let me tell you something, Rach. I was in the same circumstance in my 9th year, and Bill, I believe, is in his 9th year. He wants to be recognized as one of the game's best players, and, you know, you don't get that same recognition when you're on a losing team. And so I really clearly understand this frustration, but I think they have to play out the year, you know, and then after the year, reevaluate things, because that's the same thing that happened to me. I was at the boiling point where I was ready to get traded if we didn't do anything. Then here comes Kevin and Ray in my next year. So I'm not sure if they're capable of doing that, you know, bringing in those type of players the following year. But I truly understand his frustrations. And if they can't do anything by the summer, I would really suggest trying to trade them and get younger assets and give Bill at least an opportunity to be recognized as one of the game's best players on a contender.
I love Scott Brooks. I almost kind of felt bad when he was telling his stories, but similar teams have gone through similar issues. Bradley Beal's a consummate pro on and off the court. But in my eyes, anything short of getting KG and Ray, which that ain't happening at the end of this year, the only thing to make Brad happy is you got to trade him. I feel like I've been saying this for the last 2 years. Tremendous talent. The thing about Brad is he's going to continue to work hard and continue to say the right thing. He's not going to sit out. He's not going to disappear. He's not going to cause a distraction. He's going to continue to say the right thing. But to me, in my opinion, the only thing that's going to make him happy, honestly, is to be able to trade him and let him, enjoy his prime on a team that has a chance to win a championship. Because this team, even healthy, even with guys coming back, they're still not a very good team.
And it will be interesting to see what they can do when guys come back. I will say the litany of what this team has been through in the past couple weeks, it is insanity. You look at their off and on list, who's out one day, who's not out one day, injuries coming in, Russell Westbrook's in, then Russell Westbrook's out for a week. They pulled Bradley Beal just in case Jason Tatum made him sick. When Jason Tatum had a COVID positive test, then Brad comes back in the lineup, then more guys go out, then they start canceling or postponing more games. It has been a mess. They have not even seen each other. You heard Scott say they're only meeting basically in the parking lot to come back and forth from testing. So I think it's fair to give them a little more run here. As he said, they're playing 15 games in February to try to make up for some of these post moments. And we'll see what happens going into that March trade deadline. So it's an interesting situation. All right, guys, it is time for, oh, yes, I can hear it. I can hear it.
It's a make or miss league. It's a make or miss league.
Make. Miss.
It's a make or miss league.
Make adjustments. Nets, Hawks, Kyrie going up and under for the circus layup here. Matt, I don't know if that was an unintentional tribute to MJ or just Kyrie being Kyrie. Remember, Jordan did
Kyrie's
it to the
incredible.
Nets.
Kyrie is one of the best finishers in the game, either hand. His body control, his ability to hang in the air, the ability to take contact with his stature and still be able to finish. He's definitely one of the best finishers in the game.
Best finishers under the rim. Definitely.
Right.
I love watching Kyrie around the basket. One of my favorite things in the game today. So good. When you're putting up MJ video in comparison, you're doing something right. All right,
yeah,
Miss.
that's crazy.
Billy Hoyle, Bucks Raptors. Dante DiVincenzo gets way up for the jam. Did you know Dante had bounce
Billy
like that?
Hoyle.
You know. Miss Billy Hoyle, you get it?
That's a great comparison, Billy Hoyle. Wow, a lot of kids don't even know who that is. Come on now, who's Billy Hoyle?
As Bomani Jones calls him. Go ahead, guys.
The lane opened up so wide, I was just glad he finished it. Sometimes when you get those wide open lanes and you're not accustomed to dunking, something ends up coming to bite your ankle or you try to dunk it too hard, but luckily he finished.
Bomani Jones, one of his favorite players, he says, I love white Dante. There you go. All right, make cookies. Crunch time in San Antonio. DeJounte Murray picking Kemba's pocket, and then runs down for the slam.
Oh, man.
Matt,
Kemba's still trying to get his rhythm.
He is, right?
I mean, he's only been back a few games. You're not going to see that probably the rest of his career with the clock winding down, with a chance to put the game on ice or tie the game. I mean, you're not going to see that much from Kemba Walker probably the rest of his career.
And you have to remember,
DeJounte Murray's a great young talent.
Yeah.
Got a chance to see him in Seattle when he was in high school playing against Jamal Crawford, and he blew me away. So it's no surprise that he's continuing to elevate his game in the league.
It is amazing. Jason Tatum was saying last night, because he was out with COVID, that this is the first time they've kind of all been together in a while. And you saw that last night, Paul. You're right. All right, missed assignments after a Heat turnover. Jokic diamond up Gary Harris with the football pass. How does this happen off an inbound, Paul?
Listen, I'm going to have something to say about the Miami Heat later in the show, but that's not a good sign for the Miami Heat when they give up a made basket. They make a basket, and then it took Jokic like 10 seconds to take the ball out, and he still threw a long pass for a layup. That's not a good sign for Miami.
Coaches hate this. Coaches absolutely hate it.
Oh, they hate it. It's bad. All right, guys, LeBron awarded a flagrant one after